Okay, so the last one that we're gonna do is a running dictation. And I love running dictation because it really allows me to just sit and watch. And they do all the work. So for running dictation, you have to have a story. It will be normally a story that you have created as a class. And you are going to practice, obviously get all the repetitions there. You're going to practice pronunciation because the kids are going to have to speak and say the words. You're going to practice memorization. You're going to practice writing. And then they are going to move. So it is all in one. I do it like twice a semester. And I usually give them a heads up to like, oh guys, tomorrow we're going to do a running dictation. Wear your running shoes. Because, yeah, you know, it's crazy. So, you first start with a 6 to 8 part retell of a familiar story. So what we're going to do is, I'm actually on this board. I'm going to go ahead and have, so normally I would put 6 pieces of paper. 6 pieces of paper up. And so it would be, I wouldn't number them. I would not number the 6 pieces of paper. But they would be like, and if I need more, then I can get up to 8. So I have 5 and then 6. And so I will start asking the class. So this is just setting it up. So we do the first is the retell of the story. So I would start with, clase, ¿cómo se llama el personaje de la historia? Introduzcan al personaje. Entonces hay una koala muy perezosa que se llama Steve Irwin. And I try to make it as short, like the things that I don't really need, I try to make them really short because they already know it's Steve Irwin and they're not going to forget that. Ok, muy bien. Clase, un día. ¿Qué pasa un día? Primero, ¿qué pasa en la historia? Anita grita, despiértate. Pero Steve Irwin no se despierta. So you have your 7 pieces of paper. Now, after you get your 7 pieces of paper, you take the 7 pieces of paper and you tell your students, get in groups of 3. You'll need 14 pieces of paper, so double the amount of papers that I have there. You need 14 pieces of paper, small pieces of paper. Just grab a piece of paper and cut it in 4s. So you'll need 14 pieces of paper and 2 pencils per group. And then I take my papers and I go out in the hallway with tape and I tape them from one side of the other of the area that covers my classroom.
Are these just 8.5 by 11 or do you have the big things?
No, just 8.5 by 11. Just like this, yeah, like this size paper. I'm just writing, and they're like, why are you writing with whiteboard markers on a piece of paper? And I'm like, that, guys, because that's what I have right now. And so I just rip them off and I go and put them with tape in the hallway. And when I come back, they are ready. They have their 14 pieces of paper. They have 2 pencils, and so that is when we're going to start the running dictation. You need to make sure that they are far apart, they're far away from the door enough. So what I do is, if they leave my classroom, like if that's the door, all the papers are going to be against this wall, because if not, they can peek through the door and they can see it from the door. You don't want them to, they have to leave the classroom in order to see these. So I put them on this wall on the outside, and then they're gonna start running. So there are three people per group. If I let the weaker groups have 4 people, because they will need a little bit more support. So if you have a 4th person in a group, that will be your cheerleader, but normally groups of 3. There will be 3 roles, the runner, and the runner is a student that will run outside. They will memorize one section of the story. They may need to go out more than once. Then there is the writer. This student will write down what the runner comes in and tells them that they memorized. And then the illustrator is going to be drawing pictures to illustrate the story. So, we start, and the runner goes, "Hay una cola, hay una cola, hay una cola, hay una cola." And they go back and forth, and so they tell the writer, "Hay una koala, hay una koala, hay una koala." Okay, let me get the rest of it. Muy perezosa, something. You need to know how to spell it. Okay, perezosa. It has a Z and it has an S, but I don't know in what order. And then they go back, and it takes them forever. Then they finally get it. When they get the first part down, so when the writer has it all down, the illustrator has been illustrating the scene, then they get paper number 1 done, and actually, they don't know if it's paper number 1. They may know that it's paper number 1, but you don't put them in order out in the hallway. So we have the first paper that we did. Now, the runner becomes the writer becomes the illustrator becomes the writer. So now I was the runner, now I'm gonna sit down and draw whatever the runner is coming and telling me. So now the illustrator is the runner is going to write. So the illustrator now is going to go run outside, get the second paper. Un día Anita grita. And how do you spell grita? I don't know. It takes them forever. Like, this whole thing takes my classes the whole 45 minutes.
Nice.
So it takes them forever. And then, so they do, and they have to switch. So I have certain rules for them. So students take turns in each role until the whole story is complete. Then each student has to take each role at least twice. So you need to make sure that each student is going out. So this is where I just sit at the door. So I open the door and I sit in the hallway, I pull a chair out and I sit there. And I'm like, "You've been coming out, you really have that bad memory? You've been coming out like 15 times. Like, just do 2 at a time and come back out." Because then they start cheating. And they send the same person out because they don't want to move. So you just observe and make sure that the kids are, not repeating. Once they have completed the story and the illustration, they bring them to you in order. So they need to remember the order of the story. It's writing, picture, writing, picture, writing, picture. They bring them to you in order, and then you check them. This is where your teacher discretion comes. You decide if you accept the paper and them as the winner, or if they have mistakes that they have to correct. Normally, there will be spelling mistakes. Now, my suggestion with this is, if you have a very low group that really you saw that they were trying their best, and they just have some mistakes that are whatever, you take it and you say, "We have a winner." Or what I do is I read all the papers, and and I fold them. So this one, and this one's okay. This one, the 3 that are folded have mistakes. Figure it out. And you send them back. Or they're not in order. Go figure it out. And then when you're getting close to time, I usually end the game about 5 minutes before the end. I just say, "Okay guys, we have a winner," and then everybody inside, I collect all the papers, go back inside. Sometimes when the weather is nice, I take them outside. So I just put the papers out outside, and then they have to run. And they yell and because they get super intense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What you need is
The main.
duerme, se despierta, your structures. That's what you're going for. My structure is the verb in all of its forms. Despiértate, no se despierta. No me gusta despertar. Every
Okay.
single form that you can use it in and you can expose your students to, you're using it.
Okay.
And that is very important for the kids to be exposed to it, because that's where the whole horizontal conjugation takes place. So that's where they are like, oh, this is how you do that. So that way, if they don't remember what the ending was, but, oh no, it's she, it should be despierta, no despierto. So it is important that you show them different possibilities of the same structure. I would go with the idea, with Sarah's idea of the wait. So you would have her read it, read the part that you just retold, you turn it around, have her wait, now write it down and draw a picture. Yeah, I would have her like read it and be like, okay, how much of this can you memorize? Read it, read it, read it, give her 5-10 seconds to read depending on how many words, and then you flip it over. Now write it down. So you would be surprised how much it makes sense to them.